Hey, what's up guys? So we are going to be doing a deck profile. Now this is going to be for the rock stun that I was playing for, a while. I've made so many changes to it, like this deck has evolved a lot of times. But that said, I'll go over the deck real quick and then I'll explain some of my choices. And then if you have any suggestions, because I still really feel like this deck it's too slow. Like I want to speed it up somehow. But maybe you guys can give me some ideas on how to speed the deck up. Because now that Maxi's got to reprint this deck, just a little bit better. Because Maxi is really needed in this deck because it is a slow deck. But yeah, let's first off go over the deck profile. Then I'll explain my choices. So first off, I run double block golem. He's kind of like one of the best cards in the deck. And I went for 2 False Dyna, triple Guardian, triple Sandman, and triple Wall, 2 Jujutsu Masters, 1 Morphing Jar, and 1 Grand Mole, and then these I basically consider them traps. So that's it for the monsters, basically 17 monsters. And then for the spells, Dark Hole, triple Lance, I'll get into my reasons after this. Heavy Storm, Reborn, double Duality, double Bottomless, 1 Call of the Haunted, 1 Prison, double Mirror Force, 1 Skill Drain, and then the Solemn Brigade, double Starlight, 1 Torrential, and then the 2 Maxis basically as my hand traps. As far as the extra deck, the only thing I really make, I would say, is occasionally I'll make Roach just because of Block Golem, and then obviously double Stardust for the Starlight plays. I've made this, I think, once. Yeah, but generally, you won't really need your Exceeds. Sometimes you will need to make this to get over Spirit Reaper because sometimes Spirit Reaper can be kind of annoying. So that's just you can totally forbid Lance Spirit Reaper, but sometimes if you have the ability to go for game, just go for it. But yeah, let me explain my choices, and maybe you guys can help me out because I still think there's some improvements that can be made to this deck. But yeah, so I just played 2 Block Golem. I felt like this is definitely the best card in the deck. Although if you run triple, like sometimes the deck it's a pretty slow deck, yeah, I just didn't really like 3, but maybe if there's some other way. I like how you can special summon this card, so you can actually Giant Rat into this. So I kind of wanted to play Giant Rat to maybe kind of speed things up, but the thing was, yeah, if you don't have the targets, and it has to target rock monsters and it's not just earths, but you can maybe play Grand Soil, and I just felt like the deck is too slow to play Grand Soil. But I was thinking about Card Trooper as well, but like there's too many spells and traps that you can just mill that would kind of hurt, and it's kind of like, I would say, kind of low in the monster count area. But I just like its effect because if the only monsters in your graveyard are Earth, so you can still play cards that are not Rock, so you can still play Maxi because it's still Earth. So I don't know, I just feel like 2 is just optimal for me at least. Now 2 False Dyna. Now I think this card, it wrecks windups, it hurts 6 Samurais, I would say, and those are 2 really popular decks on Dueling Network. And sometimes you can beat certain decks just by summoning False Dyna set 4, and it just hurts a lot of decks. False Dyna is a pretty decent card too. But it doesn't really protect itself, so you gotta run those like high trap or spells. Lance basically can protect False Dyna as well. Basically makes him 2,000, so Thunder King can't run over it. But I don't know, I just really like this card because sometimes you lose control in this deck, and if you lose control, it's really hard to regain control, I would say. Yeah, you could go for the Smashing Grounds, but Smashing Grounds is 1 card, like, it just destroys 1. And what if there's, like, a Stardust, and, like, there's, like, multiple things? I guess Stardust would say, I don't even care about your False Dyna, but what I'm saying is, if your opponent already has, like, huge monster presence, like there's Hyperion and these other cards, or, just a bunch of 6 Samurais, like, I don't know, I just feel like False Dyna allows you to regain that control, and that's what this deck really lacks. But then I play Triple Guardian because he's probably the best. I really think he's just one of the best. He's an optional Doomcal. Like, I don't think I should need to say anything more. Sandman. I like Sandman because it allows you to push. It's Rock Stun, so you got to run triple of all of the Quacky Mirrors. But yeah, I think Sandman is good because it allows you to overextend, not really like worry about like, oh, am I going to lose to like a Torrential? But keep in mind, every time your opponent activates Bottomless, it hurts this deck, so what you want to do is tribute Sandman to negate that. You can tribute Sandman to negate Bottomless Trap Hole. Yes, you'll still lose Sandman, but that still puts Sandman in the graveyard rather than having him banished, so that's important in this deck because, Block Golem is there. Then we are on triple Quackmira Wall. Now, I like Wall because it allowed me to, kind of set a whole bunch of back row and not really worry about cards like Heavy Storm, but sometimes I really found out the hard way. Sometimes your opponent would just Dark Hole, and then obviously you'd be like, well, like, of course I gotta negate that unless you had some other option there, and then they would just heavy you, and you just lose because they're like, oh, he's got to set a whole bunch because he's not really worried. But I mean, if your opponent opens up heavy Dark Hole, I'm pretty sure when you're playing this deck, you're kind of in a bad spot because this deck, it is a slow deck, so keep that in mind if you're looking to play this. Expect very slow duels. The next time I play 2 Legendary Jujutsu Masters, this card allows for, like, if your opponent is playing something like E-Heroes will go for first turn Stratos and they just won't even care. But if someone summons something that has, 1800 or less, it really sets up a good advantage because, they lose the monster, essentially, and they lose their draw phase, essentially, next turn, or what they're going to draw into next turn. That's what's really good about him. But yeah, remember his effect is at the end of damage set. That's also kind of important. But yeah, I just think this card, it's okay. For a while, I wanted to play 3. I wish he was level 4, because that way, you could just go for an Exceed if you had, the options to. But at least he's ranked, he's level 3, so him and Granville kind of work well with each other. In the off chance that Granville gets Veilered, you can just Exceed or something like that. So that's just available. And then I play Morphing Jar, because he's another rock target. Plus, again, this deck is one of those slow decks, so you need every little bit of advantage you can get. There's actually a duel where I won literally just from Morphing Jar, and it was a pretty good duel. But yeah, if you want to check that out, I'll actually put that in the description, and as well as in the annotation if you want to just click on it. But yeah, it was a really fun duel, and he had so many pluses, and Morphing Jar let me come right back into the game. I think that if you're playing against Dark Worlds, honestly, this deck has a really, really, really bad matchup against Dark Worlds. I can't stress that out enough. You're almost set up to auto lose against Dark Worlds, which is unfortunate, but there's a lot of just anti-meta decks that you just can't handle Dark World. Dark World in general, game 1, Dark World, it has a really quick setup compared to these other slower anti-meta decks sometimes. And Thunder King doesn't really stop Dark Worlds too much. It stops Snow, but that's really about it. But yeah, if you're worried about flipping Jar against Dark World player, trust me, I'm pretty sure that you probably would lose anyways because Grapha just it wrecks, and if you negate with Guardian, oh well, because Grapha doesn't care, he'll come right back. But yeah, and then I play 1 in Grand because I've noticed Zen mains, it's kind of annoying to deal with this in this deck, and this really just helps get rid of Zen mains. See you later, Zen mains. I really do like that as well. Then I play, this is pretty standard, and if you're wondering why I play Triple Lance, Bottomless hurts this deck so much. I was playing 2 Lances at first, and I was playing Space Typhoon, but I can't get Bottomless because then you can't use Block Golem, and it really does hurt your deck. That's why I'm playing Triple Lance. Also, Lance is just another card that, is relatively decent. I think it's a really good card in general. Then no explanation for that, no explanation. You don't special summon too much in this deck, so Duality is pretty good. Then I play double Bottomless, and 1 Call the Haunted. It's kind of because I've seen a lot of people use Dark Hole on my Quacky Mirror Guardian because they're like, oh, I'm going to go for my play, I'll just Dark Hole, it's kind of minus, but, I get rid of Guardian. And then he's like, that's cool, let me Call the Haunted, get back Guardian. It's pretty nasty, especially if you have a Starlight set and double Quacky Mirror Guardians. Oh, that is good game, sir. It really hurts a lot of decks, unless they just go summon Cyber Dragon. Then I think you'll be very sad. But yeah, Call of the Haunted, I just like it at 1. Also, it gets back your Granville, which is, okay sometimes. And what's really strange is, I can't believe this card didn't have the effect that it can't be special summoned. So you can actually just Call of the Haunted this, go for double. So yeah, I do like Block Golem too. Call of the Haunted just helps out a little bit with that. And, Call of the Haunting, also Fossil Dyna. You can special summon Fossil Dyna. As long as you don't have another Fossil Dyna. So what a good play is, maybe your opponent activates Monster Reborn, you chain Call of the Haunting, get back your Fossil Dyna. Their Monster Reborn cannot resolve because special summoning. Yeah, pretty good stuff. Next up, I just play 1 Deep Prison because I opted to play double Mirror Force because Deep Prison doesn't let you plus, really, nearly as much as Mirror Force can potentially plus. So I went with the Mirror Force instead. You can opt to play Deep Prisons. Don't get me wrong, Deep Prisons will help you against your Dark World matchup. But this deck really needs as many pluses as it can possibly get. So that's why I opted for the Mirror Force. I play 1 Skill Drain just because there's not too many things that really deal with Skill Drain. Dark Worlds obviously they don't even care. But Skill Drain, you can flip it up, and a lot of decks just really get hurt by it. One thing I do want to mention is the Quacky Mirror Guardian, or any of the Quacky Mirrors, they still have to reveal during the end phase because that's a maintenance cost. It's just how it's ruled. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has those, rulings. But yeah, keep in mind, you still will have to reveal those Quacky Mirrors, which is unfortunate. But yeah, Skill Drain just hurt does hurt a lot of decks. And what's awesome with Skill Drain is it doesn't affect the Quackimiro's effects. Like, you can still activate your Quackimiro's effect to tribute itself, and just negate stuff. It's pretty awesome. Then I play the Slum Brigade. That's pretty standard. And I play Double Starlight because there's a lot of times where like this deck is summon set a bunch. Like that, if you play Gladiator Beast, this is almost like you'll be right at home playing this deck. Although I think Gladiator Beasts arguably just they can deal with stuff better because they can just like banish stuff. Whereas sometimes like this deck it is slow, and like War Chariot is awesome. But yeah, Double Starlight Road because I really hate getting heavied. It allows you also to overextend in this deck really easy because you don't have to worry about like Torrential or anything like that, or running into a Mirror Force, because you can just Starlight Road, and then like if you have like Quackimiro Guardian plus Stardust, again it's just one of those like Quackimiro Guardian is like the heart of the deck. Like, he really runs this deck. He's a pretty good card, and when you can combo him and get out Stardust, it hurts a lot. Then I play one Torrential Tribute just because I usually want to keep my monsters on board. There's very few times where I want to Torrential when I have a monster, but I mean, if I summon and it gets warning, I set a Torrential and they go for a play and I Torrential them back. Pretty good. And then I play two Maxis because they're Earth, and this deck is pretty slow. As far as the extra deck, let me just go over a few things. I mean, there's very few cards I would say that you would be unfamiliar with. I'll put the cards that are important at the top. This card's important. That card can be important sometimes. But that's pretty much it. Like, the deck is really linear. Basically, your optimal play is summon this guy, set everything you can, and hope they don't have heavy. If they have heavy, well, I hope you set Starlight Road. That's really what it comes down to. It's not a very innovative deck. Like, there's not much room for like huge pushes. You can't really OTK too often unless you have like Call of the Haunted or Reborn. But those, and you also have like Block Golem, and like you go Block Golem get 2, Block Golem get another 2 more. Like, it is pretty nasty. Like, I like how Block Golem has no restrictions at all. It's not like you can only activate the effect of Block Golem once per turn. However, I'm not positive on this ruling. I'll actually need to ask a judge. But if you guys know this, that'd be awesome if you guys would tell me. Apparently, with Block Golem, you can't use the Quackimiro's effects because it says their effects that activate on the field cannot be activated this turn. I thought these activated in the grave, so like I was doing it. So if I was wrong on that, my bad. But I know that Skill Drain, I know you can use the Quackimiro's effect with Skill Drain because this is only face up on the field, and this also says they can't be activated on the field, but it doesn't say face up. So I don't know. I wish Konami would just let us know that you can't use their effects even in the grave or something. Like, they really just need those like rulings on the card itself. It would just help us players out so much because I know it's kind of Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a lot of cards like Vayu, which like stops the game completely. It breaks the game. But yeah, this has been the deck profile for the Rock Sun that I had a lot of you guys request. If you're looking to build this deck, pretty much everything in here is budget. I would say everything pretty much got reprinted. I mean, these, I don't know, did these get reprinted? I know these came as super. They might have came out as common, but everything got reprinted, and now you have access to Maxi. Block Golem is a common too, so definitely a good budget deck. I mean, if you don't have any of these extra cards, is this card even out? I don't know if it's actually out yet, but I mean, everything in here is available for you. I mean, there's Leviair too. Leviair is actually pretty decent. I don't think I've ever made it, but in the off chance that you go and you have Jujutsu Master on the field, and again, your Neospatial Grandmole gets Effect Veiler, and you have a banished Quackimiro, hey, pretty good stuff. But other than that, yeah, I mean, if you guys have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them because I might want to revisit this deck in the future. I think this deck is one of those decks where it really needs to go first. Otherwise, good luck, because I don't like really dealing with, like, just it has trouble getting over big monsters without, like, using too many cards, and that's a problem that most anti-meta decks have in general. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Asian Eyes White Dragon, signing out.